Turn to some politics now, shall we? It's been a year since the Republican National Committee took an in-depth look at what went wrong for the party in 2012. According to Politico, voters and focus groups say they saw the GOP as, quote, scary. A group of, quote, stuffy old men who are out of touch with an increasingly diverse country. Well, Republican officials today say the party's come a long way. And Orlando Watson is the communications director for Black Media at the Republican National Committee. Sir, thank you for being here. And is there any way to measure at this point, I guess, if you have made inroads, or do you need to really wait until an election before you're able to measure?
Hey, thank you, TJ, for allowing me to be here. And let me say that 1 year after the Growth and Opportunity Report was released, we've made great strides in engaging black voters, Hispanic voters, Asian Americans, women and youth. We've opened doors, created new opportunities, and some of these new relationships are really starting to pay off.
Now, how are they paying off? I guess that's the question. I was wondering, do you not know until you're able to have an election? How does it pay off for you?
Well, we've had a number of successes, and success can be measured in a number of different ways, not just looking at, an election in November, but actually building positive and meaningful relationships. Just this past week, the RNC hosted the National Newspaper Publishers Association at our headquarters. That's the Black Press, during their Black Press Week. And so we're starting to have a conversation with key stakeholders in the community where we just haven't had that before. But it's working.
And Reince Priebus said that the Republicans would be happy getting up to 20% of the African-American vote. So this has to happen if they come up with the right candidate, if you will, running for the White House. Romney got 7% of the African-American vote in 2012. Well, are you all talking about who you might have on hand that can move the needle and get more than the 7% and get up to that 20%?
Well, we've got a number of Republicans out there who are addressing the community's concerns, and that's most important. Now, at the end of the day, candidates do matter. But what we're doing at the RNC is building out the infrastructure to give these candidates the resources and tools available to be most successful. And so that's what we've been focused on, the ground game. But there are candidates out there and Republicans out there who have been talking about issues that really matter to the community, whether it's Senator Tim Scott and his opportunity agenda that focuses on improving jobs training programs and expanding educational opportunities, or Senator Mike Lee, who's addressed criminal justice reform, and people like Senator Rand Paul, who have talked about how to revitalize our urban areas that have been impacted by the devastating policies from this president.
You mentioned Rand Paul. Let me bring up another Paul Ryan here, who stir up the controversy. You talk about the outreach you're trying to do, and let me play what he said that caused a stir, and let you answer if those kinds of things kind of, I guess, hurt some of your ground game. So let's listen to what he said in a radio interview.
We have got this tailspin of culture in our inner cities in particular, of men not working, and just generations of men not even thinking about working or learning the value and the culture of work. And so there's a real culture problem here that has to be dealt with.
Well, to that point, let me bring you back in. We're showing video here. He was confronted about that. There was a man you're seeing there saying, hey, that's code word. We knew what you were saying. You're talking about young black men. You're talking about race here. These kinds of things, that do happen, and he explained it. He said he was inarticulate, did Paul Ryan, about this, but the members of Black Caucus came out and called it, there were racial undertones here. Does that hurt the ground game you're talking about as you're trying to make these inroads, and then a story like this takes off and comments like that are heard?
No, I think when you take what Congressman Ryan said in its entirety and play the full clip, you'll hear that he immediately follows that up by saying it's all of our responsibility to try to uplift low-income Americans and people in society who are hurting by the impacts of these policies. In terms of what we're doing, I mean, Paul Ryan is also, mind you, someone who's been very proactive in reaching out to low-income American communities and the minority communities with a message of empowerment. And so what we're doing is actually working across the country, TJ. In fact, there's a recent NBC Wall Street Journal poll that shows that Republican favorability amongst black Americans has increased 33%. A 33% increase is something to write home about. So what we're doing is working.
All right, Orlando Watson. I'm sure we could pull out some more polls for you that shows you still got a long way to go. But still, the outreach, I appreciate having you. Good talking to you, young fella. I'm sure we're going to see you down the road, all right?
Same. Thanks a lot.
All right, let's